This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Well, good day. It is Monday. It is the Triple Option. I am Paul Catalina, and starting tomorrow, we're doing it today. Today's the test run. But starting tomorrow, we're going to be broadcasting this on two different channels, one of which will be the Triple Option channel. So all of the Triple Option content will go to the Triple Option channel. So we're very excited about that, and I will tomorrow, once artwork and all those things are done, I will direct you to that one. So I appreciate you guys watching on whatever channel you do, but we're trying to reach new heights and new audience.
Got to grow, man.
Got to grow. Yeah, we got to grow. So it's time to do that. We've been doing this show for a year. And look, if I want to really become the one true Triple Option, I have to be on my own YouTube channel.
You have to be.
I have to be. Look, if I'm going to take down the evil empire that is Urban Meyer and anybody who's in his circle, you know, it's just how it's going to be.
Got to.
You know, it's a goal of mine in life.
It should be. It should be everybody's goal. Take down Urban Meyer.
It wasn't like a goal. I was just going to, despise him from the sidelines. But now
He made it personal.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. They put one of ours in the hospital. We put one of theirs in the morgue.
Coming for you.
Yeah. That's from the Untouchables. No one in this room has seen the Untouchables but me, I think. Emery's my best shot. Nope. No way Jack has seen the Untouchables. Garrett, the Untouchables?
I don't think I've seen it. I should, but I don't think I have.
Chat, Untouchables?
Gotta be honest
Untouchables?
with you.
Somebody help me out here. Great movie. Kevin Costner, Sean Connery, Robert De Niro, about Al Capone. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, by the way, Xavier Wolf said SMU is the best team in Texas.
I don't know about that, Xavier.
I'm going to debate that.
I don't know about that.
I think they're one of the better teams in Texas.
They might be the third best team in Texas.
I'll say they're the third best team
I'll
behind
say that. Thank you. Third
Texas
best team.
and A&M in whatever order you want to put those two in. Look, Notre Dame, Texas's losses to Georgia, who's really good. Georgia's losses to Alabama, who's okay.
Alabama sucks.
Yeah. We'll give them okay. A&M's losses to Notre Dame, who's really good. Look, Navy's a really good team, and they put up 51 on them the other day. Like that, I knew they were going to beat Navy.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were going to take them apart. They took them apart.
I was kind of waiting for somebody to do that. I don't think I was expecting that extreme, but pretty close to it.
Yeah.
Navy and the Army were going to get theirs at some point.
Yeah. So, we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. Army, Navy still just waiting for it. And they both might have losses to Notre Dame, and that's it when they play.
Very well could.
Very well could. Other things I noticed this weekend, Oregon, holy cow. That was, the beating a ranked team that's good. Illinois is tough. They're a tough out. Ohio State got really scared against Nebraska.
Yep.
And, some of those calls go a different way. I'm not blaming the officials, but, that was what Matt Rule was, very impassioned after the game, where he's like, this is where I saw the championship mindset. And it's almost like you had to burn it down last week against Indiana and be like, that's as bad as you guys can play.
Right.
Because they're better than 56-7.
Oh, yeah.
They're better than that, and they showed it this week. Now, I never thought they were going to win the game, but when they had the ball late, and then true freshmen are going to do true freshman things. That's what Dylan Raiola did. But I'll tell you, the trajectory I see them on? I see them – they remind me a lot of Iowa State last year where you could see the good things, but then when they play teams that, could kind of get over on them, that's what happened. But then all of a sudden they learned, and now they're dang near unstoppable. I see a lot of that with them, and Matt Rule and Matt Campbell have a very similar coaching style, and they appreciate a lot of the same things. So I expect to see a huge jump from Nebraska next year.
Well, I mean, I think they've already made a significant jump from where they were the year before, and it's only going to get better. But, yeah, I think there's a lot of you could kind of pick apart Raiola's game if you want to be a hater, and I've seen some people do that. But at the end of the day, he is really, really good, and the mistakes he makes are just him trying to make a play really for an offense and a team who really hasn't been able to do that. I think if they could get more consistency from Nayor to help him out, that would help. But yeah, Nebraska's going to be fine. They're going to continue to grow, and we know Rule once he gets his hands on his type of guys and gets them in there to develop, it's going to take a couple of years. But they got the right trajectory going for them right now in Lincoln. Yeah,
no, I love it. I think that what we see there is really quite.
And I think it also helps like with how the Big Ten is shaping up and how it's starting to become like more wide open and not just one team. It's got to go. You got to go through Ohio State. Like that's going to benefit them as well.
Yeah. No, I think they're going to be very, very good. I love a lot of things I saw this week. Lots of fun games. TCU and Tech was a great game. I didn't get to see any of it because it was going on at the same time as Baylor and Oklahoma State, and I was there this week. I'll be at a Baylor game 2 weeks in a row for the first time in 2 years. So, but yeah, I was at the Baylor game. We'll talk about them in a second. But TCU to come back, and Tech is now – man, Tech's got to be – they've got to feel really rough about the last 2 weeks.
Well, it sucks. And once again, it comes down to you just cannot keep your quarterback healthy. Baron Morton gets banged up, and it was nice to see Will come in and do his thing. But at the same time, like, I don't know what their issue is. I don't know if you got to recruit better or along the offensive line. But that's starting to become a major problem up there in Lubbock. And I'm honestly wondering, like, how long is it going to take before – the temperature and the questions start trickling in on Joey, because that was 2 back-to-back horrible losses for them.
Well, look, they were in control of that game. Will Hammond came in for an injured Baron Morton, was dealing for a while. And then the defense just couldn't stop. I mean, you give him an 86-yard touchdown or whatever it was to give up the lead, and then TCU's defense held after that. Like, man, I don't know. Those are demoralizing wins because they shouldn't have left that one on the table.
No, and those are 2 programs that you've just lost to that you're regularly recruiting against. Like Baylor, TCU, and Tech recruit all the same players, and that's just a terrible look for that program, and that you can't afford to do that, especially when you're trying to build something and sell the message. Those are 2 terrible losses you can't have.
Yeah. By the way, Friday night, the Boise State UNLV game lived up to it. It certainly did. But if keeping Ashton Jeanty to 100 and – let's see, hold on, I'll tell you in a second. If 128 yards rushing and 3 catches for 11 – so about 139 yards on 36 touches, if that's keeping him in check, then that's still not good news for anybody else who has to play him.
No.
His worst game is a game that most running backs would kill for.
Yeah.
If you went 33 for 128 and anybody but Ashton Jeanty right now, you're like, man, what a game. Like, I feel good about myself. I'm confident. Ashton's like, I could have done better.
He could have.
I'm 100 yards below my average. This is, they did a great, like, when you can turn around and say they did a great job on Ashton Jeanty and still gave up 128 yards rushing to him. That's saying something right there in a fantastic game that was on Friday night. Mm-hmm. But I want to make sure we mention that one because that affects the playoff. Boise State
absolutely does.
Yeah, Boise State right now if they can keep it pointed in the right direction, they're going to be the G5 representative.
They are, but at the same time, like I think you can't sleep on Tulane. Like what they're starting to find themselves a little bit as well, and things can open up. But I feel like right now it's definitely them and Boise. The thing with I think Boise's schedule to finish out is easier than Tulane. You're not going to have to face the service academies and stuff. But at the same time, like they're not going to. And as far as Ashton, like he's not going to face another defense until the bowl game that can even contain him as much as UNLV did. So what his numbers are what he's going to be able to put from a numbers perspective is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. Man, El Ringon, he tried. Diego tried. Man. Texas, gosh, I am sure that, again, another one I didn't get to see, but, 46 seconds left. They score that touchdown. I am sure that like the most nerve-wracking onside kick in Texas history right there, but just took too long. And they hung around. It's the fourth quarter. Texas up by 10 with 2 minutes left. You're feeling good. Mm-hmm. A minute later, they go and score, and you're like, we have to get like as long as this happens. But man, Vanderbilt, if I'm a national championship caliber team.
You don't want to play them.
Yeah, you don't want to play them because they
don't
live in fear of anyone
Yeah.
anymore.
It's finally like they've embraced. Well, it's not like I don't know if it's necessarily they've embraced who they are, but they've got people in there who realize we can be giant killers. Nobody expects anything from us. Let's just go out and play and try to play spoiler. And the fact that everybody's embracing it and they're out there to do it, it's fun to watch.
Honestly, had they not those back-to-back losses on the road to Georgia State and Mizzou make no sense to me now. Like that should have legitimately been their first loss.
Yeah. In
my estimation, it should have been. But maybe if they don't lose those back-to-back games, then Alabama doesn't restart them. But 5-3, they're about to play Auburn on the road, a game they should win.
Yeah.
Now, I know Auburn just beat Kentucky and beat them pretty good, but Auburn is not good.
I don't trust you. I don't trust Auburn or you for you.
Kentucky's not good at all.
No.
SEC Shorts had it right today when
there was that cat fight.
They're like just a little like slap fight. That's what that was. It was dead on. So yeah, between Auburn and South Carolina, they can get a win, and they've got LSU and Tennessee to close it out. So that'll be a lot harder. But I wouldn't bet against them if I were either of those teams.
No, you can't sleep on them. But
no, you can't sleep on them at all.
Yeah,
you absolutely can't sleep on them. All right, Garrett, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, we talk about it.
You want to talk about it?
Let's talk about it.
You okay talking about it?
I am okay talking about
it. You're okay talking about
it.
I am. I don't want to throw you back into your trauma.
I'm good.
I'm not putting you back in the shit if I don't have to. But you're good.
I'm good.
You were prepared.
I told you. I told you what was going to happen. I took A&M straight up.
You did.
That was inevitable. It was coming. I think that you had two back-to-back rivalry games that was going to catch up with you. I think, honestly, the game plan and Mike Elko, what they were able to do at halftime was remarkable. Le'Veon Moss has been a problem for everybody, and LSU's defense had no answer for him. And then the adjustment to go in and put Marcel Reed in was remarkable because LSU had no answers. They weren't expecting that. You completely took away Whit Weeks. He could not do anything on defense. The crazy thing to me was hats off to the defensive adjustments, but if you go back and look, it was about late in the second quarter, and LSU loses their left tackle, Garrett Dellinger. He goes down. His backup comes in. He was getting ate up by Turner and that defensive line. Scorton, all of them were just feasting on him. And I don't know if anybody has done this. I'd be interested to see. If you go back and look at the number of snaps taken in the second half by Garrett Nussmeier, where I don't think he ever had time to plant his feet once and throw the football. Like every throw was on the run. He was super inaccurate through the three costly interceptions. And once he threw that first one, you could tell the momentum shifted in that stadium. LSU and A&M was able to capitalize. I did not like how you could tell early on, like neither team could really. The battle was won in between the 20s. Like once everybody got into the red zone. Neither offense could really do anything. But at the same time, like, it was big player bust. LSU couldn't get their rushing game established. And hats off to A&M, man. That is a real football team. That was a hell of an environment. That was the best sports experience I've ever had in my life. You
already bought into the Mike Elko line. Yeah, this is a real program.
No, it really is. Like, he said, I'm so glad he said that too. Like, that quote was one of the best quotes I've ever seen. It's authentic. And the crazy thing for me, I thought about this driving home, so that was only the second time I've ever watched LSU play in person. Mm-hmm. And both times, dude, Colin Klein was the offensive coordinator who torched them. Because I watched them play in that Texas Bowl where K-State just annihilated them. And then Colin Klein did the same thing here with that offense. You give him a mobile quarterback. It was cool. It was just awesome. I think the blackout, they nailed that. All around, like, that was A&M's. They're real. Like, that's not a fluke. Like, they are a really damn good football team.
They are quite good. I can speak to this because I've watched most every A&M game since 1988. Mm-hmm. Like, when I was like, and maybe some before that I just don't remember,
right? Because
I was distracted because, Thundercats was also on, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I was young. What are you supposed to do when you're 22? No, no, but because I was a kid. But I can tell you that this team resembles, in the style they play, the R.C. Slocum teams way more. Now, granted, they're not running the option anymore or anything like that, but they are big, strong, fast on defense.
They are physical, too.
They will. Shamar Turner, I'll just tell you, total punk. But if you're an A&M, he's your punk. Mm. Everybody needs one.
Yep.
Everybody needs one. Baylor's is Matt Jones. You need a guy who is your, enforcer. Well, look, like a hockey enforcer. Mm-hmm. The hockey enforcer is a punk.
Yep.
The goon. Like, that's why they call him that. Shamar Turner is the goon.
And they had a little pregame scuffle with him and everything.
Yeah, like he did that, and I'm not like saying go commit penalties like he did. That was dumb. But you can commit a penalty if you can make up for it with like 3 good plays, mm-hmm. which he did, like 10 good plays. He was in the backfield all the time.
Yeah. You're talking about like what really from the punk standpoint on the hit on Nussmeier or yeah. Okay, I get it.
Well, and then the other, like, he got in 2 different scuffles.
Yeah,
right?
He got 2 scuffles, but, like, I know you're not supposed to touch the quarterback, but Nussmeier flopped bad on that. That was he sold it, hats off to him, but I think that was more so, it was a stupid play, but I understand where Turner was coming from with it.
Yeah. Okay.
But because also, like, they had a pass interference on that same play, so regardless, A&M was going to get hit. But, yeah, I think you need some of that. I didn't really mind that. I think that was more funny on Nussmeier flopping.
Yeah. But I do think that, like, some of it was a bit, like, excessive, mm-hmm. right? But they overcame all of it. And then they overcame, like, they took the lead and then almost gave it back, but then shut it down again.
Yeah.
LSU, 2 things have to happen for them. Most importantly over everything. They've got to figure out how to defend a running quarterback. And you would think that after practicing against one of the greatest college running quarterbacks of all time, that they would maybe have a handle on it, but maybe they got PTSD from practice.
I don't know what it is. But like, the crazy thing to me, too, is like, you would think after losing what was supposed to be your best player on defense, you would only get worse. I think they've gotten better since Harold Perkins has gone out, which is weird. But they still haven't been able to figure out how to identify and stop a mobile quarterback. And it was like, once Reed came in, it was just over. Like, that first run, you could tell LSU was just caught like deer in headlights. They had no answer. And I mean, hats off to him, man. He was remarkable. I'm interested to see how they play that going forward. Like, if you use the 2 quarterback system or it's like situational, but it's a good problem to have if you're A&M.
Yeah. I don't think I'm still bullish on Connor Wegman.
He's good.
I think he's a good player. I just think that he's got to be in a situation where he's got wide receivers. Jade Walker, Cyrus Allen, Noah Thomas.
He just doesn't have like an Everett Stewart.
No, he doesn't have an Evan Stewart. He doesn't have a Kyron Lacey.
Right.
They don't have a Terry Bussey's their burner, but he's a true freshman.
He's a true freshman. He's going to be really good.
Yeah, but they need guys who are going to run past people for him.
He doesn't have that.
And because he does not have the escapability that Reed has. And so if they can play him with dropping everybody into coverage, that extra guy's probably going to give him problems just because they don't have somebody who can fight through a double team, like Kyron Lacey can, or can run past people like Armstrong can, or Hilton, who's back for the first time, and you could tell he was rusty, but God, I mean, I just think
his timing was off.
Yeah, but they'll get there. They'll get there. And that's something that's scary for the rest of LSU's schedule is hey, wait till this guy, Hilton clicks in, Chris Hilton. Yeah, and there's CJ Daniels wasn't even playing, right?
Yeah, he got banged up. I think it was the first or second quarter he got hurt and went out.
Yeah, so he was banged up going in, he was questionable, and then I think he was no, I'm not missing this game. And then, when you
non-factor.
Yeah, when you're not a factor, you got to take him out. And that wasn't really the problem in the first half.
No.
But they have to figure out a way to make that running game better. Now, it has been, but A&M just shut them down. And it shut down most teams running the ball this year. They made Florida just look ridiculous. There are just so many good things that they're doing. And I'm half of me is surprised, but half of me is not because talent was never the issue.
No.
Talent was never the issue. They had big-time recruiting classes, even keeping, losing the top end of those, the Walter Nolans and Evan Stewart, they still had a bunch of guys who were 4 stars. Their lowest guys were high 3-star guys. So if you go and coach them up and then add some transfers, Jabre Barber.
Yeah.
You add him, that's a worker bee that's going to help you. The tight ends that they added, fit perfectly in the system. When you add those kind of guys, the center from Utah, that really good players, then that understand that not everybody has to be a star, then you have a team that goes together. And Le'Veon Moss takes a step because he buys into the culture. Amari Daniels takes a step because he buys into the culture and has an opportunity because Reuben Owens got hurt, which was really scary for the Aggies when that happened. But now, if you went and told somebody who watched that team, hey, would you believe the guy they wanted to be their starting running back got hurt in training camp and isn't there? They'd be like, you mean Moss wasn't supposed to be the starting running back?
That's what I kept thinking. Watching Moss torch LSU's defense, I was just sitting there how is he the backup? How lucky are they to be that deep that this is your backup who would probably be starting on 75 to 80% of the rosters across the nation? That's an incredible luck by them. And especially you bring up, they did address the tight end room in the portal, but at the same time, I think A&M needs an elite tight end to help them go to the next level. They've had a couple of them in the past that they've lost to the NFL, but I think that's one area that they can improve on. I was really impressed with the adjustments of their offensive line. If you go the first half, LSU's defensive line started to control and take over. They were really honing in on Wigman. And then the offensive line stepped up. And obviously it helped with Reed's ability, but I think that watching that line get gut checked and step up the way they did in the second half was really impressive for them as well.
Yeah, Jack mentioned something Connor Wegman needs his Mike Evans, right?
Absolutely,
he needs that guy.
Yes.
Marcel Reed doesn't necessarily need that guy
because he make it happen.
Well, I mean, you also have to commit a defender who's now in charge of watching him. And even when LSU did that,
didn't matter.
It didn't matter because he was so locked in. And the 4 touchdowns in the first 4 drives, they scored on all 5 drives.
That's ridiculous.
That last drive that LSU had where they felt like they needed to do something, you just tell that they were absolutely out of gas.
Well, to me, it was over. That game ended when Torian York got the 3rd interception. There was 6 minutes left in the game. It was over at that point. LSU couldn't do anything. The only, their offense, I would commend Kyron Lacey. He kept fighting. He wanted the ball. He was not intimidated. That environment got to them. It did. Like I don't think anybody, like if they try to deny it, it definitely got to them. Lacey was the only one that wasn't affected. And there was a couple of times where you could see Nuss making poor decisions, where he tried to force the ball to Mason Taylor that was dropped for a touchdown, where Kyron Lacey was open underneath. Then there was also pass interference that they never called. There were a couple of underthrown balls there at 2. And then in the second half, Nuss could not get anything going to the outside when he was trying to make the out throws, like the 15-yard out throws and stuff. It was not there. But A&M was just a better team. They were all 3 phases of the game. Ramos could not kick a field goal to save his life. You had 2 costly missed field goals there. They were out. LSU was out-coached, outplayed, out-talented, outmatched. It was all Aggies, man. It was fun. It was a hell of an environment.
I'm getting excited for. I was already excited for A&M and Texas to play again.
I am pumped for that, and I've talked to you like I've probably watched like 3 of those ever. Like I'm excited for that game.
Yeah,
now.
I saw Landry Locker from Sports Radio 610 in Houston, who's a big Texas guy, saying a friend of mine texted me and said that is Texas and A&M a night game. He's like, I certainly hope not. Like, oh no,
it's going to be.
It's a night game. It will be a night game on Saturday, November 30th. It will absolutely be a night game. Like there's no more of that game getting kicked to 11 o'clock in the morning because they're both in the Big 12 or SWC. That game will be at night on a Saturday and probably against 2 teams that are 10-1.
No, it will. And I was thinking about this, so I want your opinion. So I feel like I was thinking about that matchup coming up. Do you think we are on what could potentially be the best decade? Well, I guess we need to see it played yet. But I think A&M and Texas, I think it helped with them not playing for the past 13 years because both of them have built to where they're taking advantage of their resources. Like they have taught like power programs. I feel like we could be setting up for the best decade of Texas A&M right now because of the NIL, and everything going into it. I could be totally wrong, but I feel like we're setting up for something special here.
Yeah, no, I'm here for it. I'm here for it all. When we come back, let's talk a little Big 12, Garrett, because it was another topsy-turvy week in a lot of regards. So we'll focus in on that league. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
All right, would you like to know here's how the sun rises and sets in different places.
Right.
So Florida State falls to 1-7 after getting throttled by Miami, although in the first half they held their own better than I thought they would.
That's cute.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
That's cute.
Yeah, that's cute. Man, just
sorry.
God, they suck so
They're
hard.
terrible, dude.
They're so bad. So bad. Although I do like Luke Kromenhoek. So I'm happy. I'm happy. Like, and keep my fingers crossed that he looks like he's a bit of a gamer. But they lost another 4-star commitment. It's almost as if like you wouldn't you have the good season and you want to sign everybody like right then and get them locked in so they can't change their mind after 13-0. But all the prospects that they've gotten for 2025 and 2026, they were like, hell yeah, Florida State's on the way up is diving. Well, you know what happened yesterday for Texas A&M?
Yeah, they
3
landed
4-star commitments.
3 of them, Paul.
Yeah. 3.
Yeah.
So you beat another big-time SEC team on national television and leave no doubt. Like, there's no LSU fan walking around today saying, hey, we
coulda, shoulda, woulda.
We like if this wouldn't have happened or that wouldn't have happened.
No.
Like, no, got our asses
Got
kicked.
your ass whooped.
Yeah. Second half, A&M just kicked their ass. And so that's what happens when you have a leave no doubter like that. But yeah, let's go into the Big 12 this week, Garrett, since we've talked enough about the snobby conference.
Mm-hmm.
But the Big 12 this week, it's still very Big 12-y,
yep.
Right? It's still very Big 12-y. It's still very, we don't know what's going to happen. Although the odds makers were wrong on a couple of things this week. One, TCU won the game, but that 7-point line was wrong.
Right.
And I kind of was surprised about that. Also, UCF BYU could not have been more wrong on Vegas' part. Like, I guess everybody keeps waiting for the other shoe to drop on BYU. I just don't think it's dropping. UCF and Oklahoma State are just plummeting, without any hope.
I also feel like the thing with BYU, they are being slept on. The national narrative, everybody is waiting for that. But I also think like with the matchup with them going to UCF, I feel like, remember the narrative, and it's cool, the whole Vampire Cougs and everything. It's cool to lean into that. But I feel like people were waiting for the time change and having to go play a day game and go over the two different time zones to bite them. That's just not happening. I think they're too fundamentally sound for little things like that to get in their way. It's going to take somebody. It's really going to take Retzlaff having a bad game, which he hasn't been. It's weird because he's good, but he's not like elite or anything.
I mean, he's not Shedeur Sanders, but he's good.
He's good. He just doesn't make mistakes. Yeah. And with getting their rushing attack established has been a game changer as well. Like, I don't know why people keep sleeping on him, but I think that kind of played into it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I think that, you look at their schedule for the rest of the year. Okay, they've got the week off this week. Mm-hmm. Then they have the Holy War.
Which sucks.
Utah just lost to Houston.
I hate with the Holy War because I was so excited for that. I think everybody was, right? Like, you wanted it to be like both teams really good. Like, I'm just interested on like what the luster or the attention is going to be for that game, because with the way Utah is, it's kind of lost all of its interest.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it has. Kansas, who has led in the fourth quarter in every game but one. In that game, they led in the third quarter against TCU, and is 2-6. So they have to win out to get to a bowl game.
I don't think that's happening.
The other night, I kept wanting to tell. I'm sure Lance Leipold's their kicker, if we get him within 50, is going to make this, right? So as long as we keep him outside of 50 yards, don't let him get there. Right. They only need to play for a field goal, and it's like the defense didn't quite get that memo.
Didn't comprehend.
They're not Kansas State can play for whatever happens. If they get a big gain on one of these plays, they can kick a field goal. If they don't, or if they do, they can go over the touchdown. If not, they can kick a field goal if they're at the 35-yard line and in, and that's what happened, obviously. So. Yeah, you need to put a wall at the 38-yard line and make sure they don't get there.
Right.
Make them kick a ridiculously long field goal. And if they make it, sometimes, if a kicker's going to kick a 60-yard field goal, you're like, well.
Charge it to the game.
More power to you. Not much else we can do other than keep you to the 40 on the other side. Mm-hmm. But Utah, I don't know. If I had to I'll probably make the top 5 most disappointing teams in the Big 12 for Wednesday's top 5. And I'll really have to think about who's the most disappointing. Utah, Kansas, UCF, Oklahoma State.
To me, I think it's got to be –
it's probably
Utah, Oklahoma State, and UCF. I think those are probably the 3 most disappointing teams. But are you really surprised, the more we think about this, that – I haven't been sold on Mike Gundy for a while. I always kind of think he's fool's gold, and I guess I know that's my expectations as a fan of a program who's won national championships, yada, yada, yada. I just don't see how somebody can constantly be mediocre and you want to just keep holding on to him. I don't understand that from a fan base perspective. But Like, are we surprised that it seems like the game has passed him by? Seems like it's passed by Kyle Whittingham. You both rode with like 28-year-old quarterbacks. Are we surprised, really surprised in reality that it's turned out the way it has?
I'm not. I am for Utah because I thought I bought into well, if Cam Rising's really coming back to play, he must be healthy now. But none of these injuries are the injury that he had last year.
Yeah, it's all new stuff.
They're all new stuff. And so I'm of the belief that if you're 25 and still in college and weren't a minor league baseball player, then you probably need to move on from this guy. I mean, I'm not I know that there's plenty of outliers. I know when I say not a minor league baseball player, that gives me the Drew Hensons and
but they're
Chris
few and
Winkies
far
of the
between.
world. But I'm still trying to be I'm outside of that's not the norm.
Right.
Quincy Carter was a really good college quarterback, but that's kind of not really what happens anymore either. So if you are 25, 26 years old and you're a college quarterback still, it means you're not an NFL quarterback.
No.
Because they would have gotten you before then.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm COVID years and all that stuff. If you are NFL caliber, I mean, look, Anthony Richardson would still be the starter at Florida this year, and he totally should be.
He should be, yeah.
He should have stayed. But the NFL told him, you're ready. We're picking you in the top 10. What's he supposed to do? You gotta go. You gotta go and get that money.
Did he miss the NIL window?
No, he was right there at the beginning of it. So, but no, I mean, even NIL window, if you're the third pick in the draft like he was.
But I think that's what sucks because sometimes you got to have some better hindsight, right? You got to, I know you want to be confident and you want to be in a situation where a lot of times you need the money for your family, but you got to sometimes have that hard conversation with yourself. Do I need this extra year of development? Can that wait? And I know there's always the risk of getting hurt or stuff, but if it could benefit you longer to, sit out a year and have a more sustained career where you can make money longer than going in and taking a quick pay jump. I don't know. I just have to think about that.
I can just tell you that Billy Napier's life and Anthony Richardson's life would be a lot different now had he stayed for just one more year.
Absolutely would.
Just one more year. This would be the year where they have to go get Graham Mertz, but.
Well, hell, they wouldn't have to because you would have had Lagway there.
But even then, you get a Graham Mertz to make sure, but it's Anthony Richardson and then that, that would be very different.
Yeah.
But clearly not the case. And look, even when they had Anthony Richardson, they were still not that
wasn't
great
flawless, no.
that year. I mean, they, if you remember, they went 6-7 because once he, they weren't going to win the bowl game once he opted out, right? And so, but yeah, and to tie that back into the Big 12, I watched Alan Bowman the other day in person, and
it's not it.
He his numbers are deceiving because you look at it and you're like, oh, well, he threw for 359 yards.
He's got good receivers.
But yeah, that was of that 359, 183 was Brennan Presley being ridiculously good. I think I texted you guys that. He deserves better than Alan Bowman.
Yes,
he really does. He really, really does.
I think all of them do.
Yeah. They all deserve better than Rashad Owens, really good wide receiver. Stribling, really good. He didn't have a great game the other day, but I mean, when Brennan Presley has 15 catches, that's what's going on. Brennan Presley by himself was keeping them in that game. I mean, absolutely by himself. By the way, there's two guys that were 0 for Oklahoma State, and the one who plays on defense was walking to the locker room, down where the medical area is, he was going to get an x-ray, and he had his helmet, he was, taking it off, and I was about to text everybody, oh, crap, Ollie Gordon's going to get x-rayed because he's holding his arm. And then, literally the next second, I see him run for, 5 yards, and I was like, wait, what, are there two of them? Did he, split at the cellular level, like a multiple man, and go do that? I don't know. But, yeah, I didn't notice. It's the first game, and I went up and got it at halftime, but it's the first game outside of the FSU game where I haven't sat with a flip card in front of me.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a crutch, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's a crutch. I had to go up and grab one. I can't sit here anymore. And somebody was like, "Do you want a program?" I'm like, "You mean pay for one?" No.
Not at all.
Hold on. It's halftime. I just have to wait for the coaches to get down the elevator.
We're going to do a thing real quick.
I'll be up. I'll be up in a second. So, but on the other side of that Oklahoma State coin, who they're plummeting, Baylor is playing confident right now. The last 2 weeks are the first time I can say they play confident. They know what they can do. They played within themselves, like all those buzzwords. And they have leaders on the team that they didn't have before, clearly. Like there's leadership stepping up. There's a cohesive message. And that's what Dave, like the disconnect, I think, between Dave and the players were, how do you get these guys to all buy in? Because when he took over, he had a bunch of rule guys who had built it up, right? They were on a mission to finish that.
Right.
They knew how good that they could be because they just experienced it before the COVID year. They knew in 2019, we were right here on the door. 2020, nobody begrudges anybody for that because it was a nightmare. But now we know who we are, and we can go win this league, and they did. So he didn't have to do any culture building then. He just had to do, he just had to water the garden and make sure it didn't die, right? He just had to go out there and make sure, all right, good deal, here you go. Here's your Miracle Grow, here's your water. All right, I'm just going to sit here and wait for the flowers to bloom, and that's what happened. He didn't have to do any of that outside of, hey, let's throw last year in the trash. Everybody else is, except the team that won. No one else is going to look back on it and go, oh, man, that year we didn't play all the games, that was my favorite. Like, that's over. And once he had those guys, he had leaders established, the Jalen Petries and Terrell Bernards and all those guys, it was easy for them to just run in a straight line right to the Big 12 championship. This team has not experienced, some of them were on that team, but has not experienced consistency like that.
No, they haven't. I also think one of the biggest differences in like the past couple, well, obviously, first and foremost, the schedule strength has changed. That's they're not playing the top caliber teams. They took their licks early. They learned from that. They had time off. They've adjusted. They've gotten healthy. The back half of the schedule is something they can manage and take care of. Now, being able to do are two totally different things because we haven't seen them. Now we're starting to see it. I also think one of the biggest differences with this team is the players that you've brought in from the transfer portal weren't hitting. Now they're starting to hit. You got Ashton Hawkins, and he's going up and making ridiculous catches. Hal Presley is, again, he's got good speed, not great. Like right.
He's as fast as you need him to be, maybe not as you maybe would want him to be, but he's a contested catch guy.
Yeah, and he hasn't lived up to it, and he's starting to do that, right? And if you look on defense, whether it's Trevin Maye that's flying around plugging things up, Steve Linton the past couple of weeks has looked really good. I think they've just gotten production from players that they weren't getting in the past, and maybe that's just confidence. Like you just don't feel it in yourself, and you start to get beat, and you kind of get in your own head a little bit, and that's just not the case. But Sawyer Robertson's looked really good. There were times for me where it looked like he was the only person that was out there playing, and now that's not the case. I think it kind of speaks to where this program's at, where you heard the story of Josh Cameron going off in practice. I think that really kind of sparked people. Because when you have a walk-on who's been leaving everything out there, like why aren't other people stepping up and doing that? And that's starting to be the case. But no, they're really fun to watch, man. And this is why you brought Jake Spavital in, right?
Yeah.
Like you wanted to have an explosive offense. It's taken time. I think they did a really good job of finding out a way to help their offensive line when they in the off week where they went back to the wide zone. And, alleviates the pressure there, getting their rushing attack going. Bryson Washington is a game changer when he's healthy. Like, it's just all clicking right now, and this is what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, here's the other thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jake Spavital maybe felt this a couple weeks ago. But when they probably knew that they could hit if they got all this right, that playing against a Texas Tech defense that we know is a problem.
Right.
An Oklahoma State defense that is – the second worst in the entire country.
Yep.
And then you got TCU, who's no great shakes on that side of the ball. Like outside of this, you can maybe build some offensive confidence.
Absolutely can.
And not have to put it to where the defense has to make all these plays all the time and win the game. the defense hasn't had to worry about much the last couple
they've actually
weeks.
got help. Yeah.
And they got help. So there's some balance coming back to this team. They're by no means a complete team, and they're a very middle of the road team. They're very middle of the road right now. And then look, their record says that. They're 4-4. They're an average team, but their averages are starting to be better.
Right.
And with TCU, West Virginia, Houston, and Kansas left, if they can at least go 2-2 through this stretch, then Dave Aranda should walk out the door himself and be like, yeah, I got it, because I get it. Mm-hmm. It's not going to work here. But I will make the argument that they should be at least 3-1 through this. I know it's hard to win 6 games in a row, when you're this kind of team. But the bottom line is, as I yell over a weed eater, the bottom line is the only team that you are playing that has any kind of upward trajectory right now, and it's only because of the last two weeks. The same thing. TCU, they're the same right now. Mm-hmm. Again, Baylor and TCU are, Romulus and Remus, two brothers separated at birth, right? Like that's what they are, and they just kind of, the Spider-Man meme, however you want to say it, that's what they are, and they're both pointed up right now. But West Virginia pointed down. Houston, I don't want to say pointed down. They just had a win, but that's not a team that you should lose to.
No.
Based on your roster versus their roster. And then Kansas can't get out of their own way.
No, not at all.
So of those 4, 2-2 is the bare minimum that you should do. That's the bare minimum. They should be 3-1 at least. And if they beat TCU this week, something that they never, ever do anymore, it's like once in a blue moon, they'll figure out a way to beat TCU. Look, the last time they beat them, Max Duggan had to step out of bounds with one cleat at the 2-yard line for them to beat them. Like, that's how they beat them. It was a good call, but they were a cleat away from losing that game. And this has not been the best rivalry for Baylor. They lose it constantly. Maybe having Gary Patterson on the staff for a couple of months might have pulled some of that bad juju away from it. But if they can find a way to contain Josh Hoover this week, run the ball again like they did, and TCU's defense is not good.
It's not great, no.
It's not great. The Tech carved them up. They should. If they beat TCU, there's no reason for them to lose. They could be standing at the end of the season 8-4 and feeling really good about themselves.
I mean, it's hard to really fathom it, but I think they can. I think they can beat TCU. I think they can win out, and it's going to be very difficult. But if you can't beat TCU now, it's kind of like what we were talking about with Lane Kiffin this whole time. Like, if you can't win this year, win. I feel like that's this matchup with Baylor and TCU. The way TCU is down, they're vulnerable. Baylor's kind of, I know both of them, you just said they both kind of got some momentum, but Baylor's got more of a momentum. I think Baylor is the more hungry team. I think Baylor can do it. Now, my only concern is if Baylor does pull this off and they beat TCU, would you rather not have that bye the following week and kind of carry that momentum, or do you think that bye kind of is a hiccup there?
I don't think it's a hiccup. I think it's probably
for the best.
I like the 2 bye weeks now that the schedule's like crazier and like all the travel, all that. I think it'll be good. And look, they haven't, they've never beaten West Virginia there, right? Or they don't. If they did, it's just once.
I don't think they have.
Yeah, like they've not. It's hard for them to win in Morgantown, but
Morgantown is not Morgantown this year.
Well, I mean, look, the fans have turned on their coach.
Yeah.
Completely. He doesn't have the fans.
No.
Right? Like, this isn't like he can go to a swing state and be like, if I can just get Pennsylvania.
Not happening.
Like, no. It's not the Electoral College.
Got his ass this year.
He has, like, in all 50 states of the West Virginia fandom, he has none of them. None of them. It's like FDR running against an actual cat. Like, not going to win. Not going to win. Like, you're just not going to do it. So, yeah. And, I don't know if Neil Brown is back or not, or what Ren Baker decides. I feel like we know Ren Baker pretty well, and I know that he doesn't want to do that.
But I think it's kind of forced at this point.
I mean, it's again, the fans are going to start voting with their enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Whether that's, and the thing is that because it's a fundraising thing now, you have to, meet them where they live on, okay, you want some more money? Do not hire a coach that says, I hope you guys, aren't you having fun in spite of all this?
It's not the place to say that.
No. And then here's the thing. West Virginia hauled off and won this week. Did they have the common decency to do it in front of their own fans?
Nope.
No. They did it all the way across the country in Arizona. Yeah. So doubly stings there. UCF, a mess. Kansas is a mess. Mm-hmm. Kansas, I think, makes one different coordinator hire. I think Jalen Daniels probably comes back. He's not the problem. He's finally not rusty and healthy and all that. Although it would not terribly shock me to see him go
try it somewhere else.
I
could see that too. At this point, you've maxed it out there, and especially if they kind of keep Grimes on, what am I really benefiting? I would kind of look at that and say I want to go try it in somebody else's system.
Also, could a school like Miami
or Florida State?
Well, I think they've got a lot more in the way. No, I mean, they might try it, but the things I look at are, okay, who's going to lose their starter this year and doesn't really have
a backup
plan. UCF, Ja'Curry Brown, maybe, but what has he done in these 2 weeks to show you that he's a Big 12 level starter?
Correct.
Right. And he was already run out of Miami, so, is it UCF? Is it Miami's losing Cam Ward? I know they feel good about the class they have coming in, but I know that they don't want to try to follow up because if they Miami's about to have the same thing happen to them roster-wise that Florida State did this year.
Yep.
I mean, Ward's gone. Restrepo's gone.
Martinez is gone.
Fletcher's gone. Most of that offensive line is gone. Ruben Bain's gone. Tyler Barron's gone. The secondary, they're all gone. They're going to lose 10 to 15 starters. And, what do you have now that they're hot and they're Miami? Can you get a guy, maybe not Jalen Daniels, but who else is in that?
Right.
Okay, 1 year cash in, let me go try to win and get in the playoffs somewhere. Because I don't know if Kansas is – I mean, they've played a lot of close games, but are they, a couple of tweaks away from a playoff and Big 12 contender anymore?
I don't think so.
Or does it run deeper than that?
I think it's good. I think it runs deeper too because the depth. There's teams right now that are so much further ahead of them. I know it's easier to fix your roster through the portal year by year, but I feel like there's teams in the Big 12 that are so much further ahead of Kansas right now. It's not an easy fix for them to catch up like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we'll see what happens there. All right, Garrett. Before we go, Tennessee is wearing blackout uniforms this week. Not an original idea, but the presentation to tie in with a very mediocre science fiction film that's coming out, but a cool Spider-Man villain in Venom. Watch this. This is really cool. Yeah, that was awesome.
I like that.
That was awesome. That was really cool. And look, the Venom movies, I know this third one's supposed to be the best one of the three, but again, that's like me and two other guys my exact size running a 100-yard dash and then being like, I won! Okay.
And?
Congratulations. You're the fastest butterball.
Oh, my God.
Great. if the zombie apocalypse happens, you'll at least outlive these two by a second.
There's hope.
There's hope. Maybe I can get to a well-sized hole to hide in.
Oh, my God.
But, yeah, no, I thought that was really awesome. It was really great. So today on the show, we are hoping that we have another guest that will pop up. I don't want to I don't want to sell it in case we don't get him. But Ari Temkin, Phil Bennett, we'll have our Big 12 North pod. We will have another guest pop in there. There's a couple that we're waiting on. So we'll see. But we have, which is actually good news that we don't have a ton of guests right now because there is so much to get to. Games, Big 12 standings, staff changes, Travis Hunter, Mekhi Bernard. Like, it's a lot.
Drew
Baylor
Aller.
and TCU this week. Would you say Drew Aller?
He's hurt.
Yeah, he's hurt. Yeah, he did get hurt in that game. So Drew Aller going into this week against Ohio State. Again, so much to get to here on a Monday. But Ari Temkin, Phil Bennett will join us for sure. And then I know that we'll have at least one more guest, pop up out of the soil and entertain us today. So that's going to do it for us. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports. Stay tuned tomorrow for info on a new channel that we're going to be moving to. That's all coming up. Very exciting things. This is the Triple Option.